got a bunch of suggestions, so I'm going to go over those while Tim gets the pictures and stuff up there. Metal garbage cans and paint them red for with a hot sign in them to use for purging only. This will prevent the purges from being left on the floor or in the presses because we can't put them in the garbage cans when they're still hot. I know it's not an excuse, but we forget to go back and pick them up, you know, after they're cold. Okay, so it's something we can look at. Change the air hoses on the robots with some of the EOA to identify connections faster. The example he has here is gripper 1 will be yellow, gripper 2 will be blue hose, vacuum 1 black, vacuum 2 red, vacuum 3 white, vacuum 4 green. So the end arm will have the corresponding color on it, so you know exactly which ones to plug in. I think that's a good idea. We could also look at doing some quick change and arm tooling stuff, so some really good ideas there, okay? Get more end of arm tooling specific for molds for Filtran. We built all the end arms that you can just adjust around, so you can use the same end arm for multiple Filtran jobs. You know, and a lot of these are specific to doing setups. Then we have to spend 20 minutes adjusting the end arm for that particular mold to run. So that's something we can look at. I don't know if it's quicker to adjust the end arm or if it's quicker to change the end arm. So we'll kind of look at that. Seat covers for the toilets. I think what people are using now, and this is the suggestion, is they're using toilet paper to cover the seat. They don't want to sit on it. So that's something we can take a look at. This is a good one as well. A communication board for the material handlers to go for info, specifically where certain skids need to go in the warehouse. This is from shipping, so I think there's some good idea there. We'll take a look at that. We'll see if there's a good place to put a board so that people can communicate back and forth between shipping and the material handlers. I think that's specifically more for the off shifts, I would assume, because shipping's not here to communicate with them, okay? So we'll take a look at that as well, okay? Tim's going to go over the sales numbers, and then we'll get going with our normal procedure, okay?
All right, so the sale, as of today, sales are $1,958,760. Again, $1,958,760. We have 8 days left, or about 36% of the month left, okay? So we're on the downside of the month, so we'll hopefully keep back up the pace here for the next week. All right. Last issue going on is where are we at on Press 52? Are we done with Bill 43? So we need to move on to SYS 163 today. Okay. Okay. All right. Also, then as soon as that's done, we need to get the ITW on the 14. Okay. So that needs to go in right away. So we got to get that order running. We've talked about grinding the K55s that we have up, all rework, that's all done. All right, thank you. Make sure, did you communicate with quality to make sure they all got pulled out of non-conforming? All right, Rosa, can you get the numbers that we ground for non-conforming rework north? So we pulled everything out, so everything should be gone for the K55. Okay. Can you also look at SYS 119? Are we the screws sticking? Is that why it's slow? Alright. And Rich, you can have Thursday, you can have Press 664. Okay? So that's, we should back by Monday? Okay. Alright.
Hot things we got going on, Jimmy. We obviously need to get beer on 4 and 5. Ran off. I believe, I didn't see Vlad. Hey, we got it all fixed? Okay, so the CMM should be able to measure correctly, okay? We need to check and start on Press 33. 10, we need to get to Clap 4. 22 is fixed, Jimmy, so we need to get that up and running and make sure everything's good to go there. And Press 14, we need to get that up and running. Make sure the water's hooked up correctly on that tool. I know it's a little bit goofy on the front half, on the first shot, so make sure you have water flow through all the circuits and they're hooked up correctly, okay? For the tool room guys, SYS 134, I believe we're down a cavity on that. Can we try and see if we can get the other cavity fixed before we put it in? And I wanted to say thanks to the tow room guys. They stayed late last night and they got Honeywell 3 changed over, BRN 4 changed over, and BRN 5 changed over. I know they wanted to go home, but they stuck around and got them done, so I appreciate that, guys. Pictures that we got. We had talked about taking some of the Filtrans and putting them in Gaylord so we can grind specific materials. And we just put a label on there that there's bad parts. Just wanted to make sure everybody knows we actually have a QF form for bad parts. It's a red sheet, so you can put the part number on there, why they're bad, and what needs to be done with the parts, okay? If we don't have those out on the floor, we'll make sure we get them out on the floor so we don't have to handwrite stuff, okay? This is the transformer by Press 5. There's just labels and stuff all over the top of it. Does anybody know why this is there still? I think that was from when we had the bad power box on the bus bar, and there's just a cord coiled up with one end missing on top of the robot cabinet over by Press 3. Again, we need to find a home for this. It's a great thing. So anybody have a suggestion on where we can put it? We need to tape it out, and we need to make sure we put a label on it where it goes back to, okay? So we just need somebody to kind of take care of that. See, I'll help you out with it if you need to. Is there any reason why we're not pulling these parts with the robot? I mean, should be pretty easy to pull them with the robot. The only reason why I say that is, you guys can see the space over here is really small, and it's hard for the material handlers to get the material in there. If we just pull these parts with the robot, put them on the other side, it opens that whole aisle up, so now it makes the material handler's job easier. Okay, so I mean, they could be now, but if we pull them with a robot, it could be better, okay? So Isaac, can you take a look at that and see if we can do that, okay? Well, one of the things that we need to do is these presses back here are a lot tighter, okay? So if we can pull the job with the robot and not have the conveyors in the way, it will help a lot, okay? So we just need to try and see if we can do that as much as possible. Just a quick improvement that I did in my office. As you guys can see, this drawer is not very clean and organized. And it was driving me nuts because I had seen how well of a job that Tim and Roy had done with their drawers. And it was driving me nuts going in there. I was in Roy's office and he's like, hey, you need a loopy? It's right here. So he had it all neat and organized. So I went back and I said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. And I got my drawer cleaned out. I still have some space for some other stuff that I need to add to the drawer, but I got everything else out of there and put in the foam and made it look nice, okay? Alright, don't forget, tomorrow we have someone coming through, so we got to make sure the place is cleaned up. Holly One will be here at Camden, right? Around 1:30, so make sure that everything's cleaned up for them. Also, for the Kaizen events, we'll show some pictures of one of them that we did yesterday, but we're not done. So I put a new date on that, when we're going to meet again to finish that up. And also, don't forget to check the date for the mezzanine one next Monday also. So if you're part of that, don't forget. All right, improvements that we had. If you get a chance to take a look at the pictures and see how bad the upstairs closet was. And when I say closet, it's next to the training room up there. So you could barely get in there. You couldn't get to the shirts because there was tables and everything in the way. There was desks in the way. And you couldn't even get around to the backside. Some of the stuff was labeled, it was great, but then there's a bunch of other stuff that wasn't. So right now, we cleared it out and we have all open space. We basically have 2 shelving units basically up there and a couple rollouts for the class. So one of the things we talked about, everything we want on rollers from now on so we can clean. Okay, so all the new class stuff for Robert's class, you can just roll those out into the classroom and take it off of there so he doesn't have to walk back and forth. You can pull the whole thing out and put it all back when we're done. We still got some labeling to finish up, and I appreciate it. Everyone did a really nice job. The other thing they came up with is everyone was figuring out, doing a nice job of organizing all the t-shirts we have. Well, that's great. They organize it, put them in the box, but what happens? I'll tell you, as I reach in the box to grab one out and hand it out, I don't know what happens to the next one, right? Because they're all folded. Well, they ended up cutting the front of the box so you can pull a folded one up and leave the rest of them all folded. So they don't get all messed up and we keep a better count of what's going on. So they had a great idea on that.
So we're almost done. We got probably about another meeting just like yesterday. We'll be all done with the signs. Then also up in the wire room, Maria, we found that she had tools just laying on the machine. She did the foam, so they're set up there. She also just got another Allen wrench that she needed by the spool with the tools she needed. She put them on there, so now she doesn't have to look for them. So she made another improvement yesterday to make her job a lot easier. So as you can see what she's doing. So if you get a chance, don't forget to go up there and take a look. All right. All right. Now, yesterday we talked about he left Lexus, so he's still in Japan for his trip. So after leaving Lexus, our next stop was Hoax, a company that specializes in making electronic circuitry. Brad told us that all the companies we would visit on our tour of Japan, Hoax, would be the ultimate model of how lean thinking can transform business. With $100 million a year in sales, Hoax is actually considered a small company. Located in the southern part of Japan, Hoax is an inspiring success story of a company that defied all odds by turning an annual loss of $10 million to an annual profit of $10 million. How? By implementing a lean strategy. I mean a lean culture. I was looking forward to this visit and learning from someone who had come from the brink of bankruptcy to towering success. We arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning, dressed business casual, and no doubt expecting the same royal treatment we received from Lexus. There we stood, waiting for a lecture and a tour. The president, Mr. Manby, greeted each of us with a brush and a bucket. Then he proceeded to gesture us all to the floor along with other company executives. Down on our hands and knees, that's right, we just scrubbed the floor. Now this was a new level of lean that I had never seen before, and as you can imagine, we were all a little shocked. The President Hoax was going to demonstrate to us one of the best tenets of lean, which is 5S'ing. First, I need to give you a very quick primer. There are 5 basic principles of lean that business leaders are taught. These things referred to as the 5 S's of lean are a basic starting point for those who are new to lean thinking. The 5 S's are, a lot of us went through this before, so it's just a refresher. Sort everything and remove what is not necessary to the job at hand and get rid of all the clutter and junk. I guarantee we did a ton of that upstairs yesterday. There's stuff up there since 2000 that we threw away. We didn't need or we moved out. So there's tons of stuff, all right? Straighten. A way to prioritize and organize the tools, resources needed for efficiency so that employees have easy access to their tools and supplies. So, like that, making it easy access, straightening it out so she knows where they're at. Shine. A clean environment improves morale and actually makes it easier to identify equipment deterioration and or malfunction. Well, obviously, that's a lot cleaner than having tools lay around. Also, we just talked about having toilet seat covers. If we don't have clean toilets, I guess that's what we need, but we'll talk about that later on. All right, standardize. This involves building consensus in the workplace with best practices so that everybody understands what is expected, what to expect, and what is expected of them. All right, there's 2 things we talked about. We need to retrain on and standardize our Kanban cards. We talked about everyone who uses Kanban cards. We use the same system. So we want to make sure we're standardized. We're going to standardize what color tape we use for our labels because then we don't have to order extra. So it'll all be standardized. So we're going to standardize stuff. And sustain. Finding ways to keep changes in place. It is easier than you think if everything has a place and every place has a thing. I mean everything, even the salt and pepper. So this is one of the things that we've had problems with sustaining. But it's sustaining simple when you give understanding and comprehension of what needs to be done, all right? If we have a label for it, it's a lot easier. Yes, we might have to put it back. Somebody might have forgotten to put it back, but at least we know where to put it back to. This is a perfect example. I asked about a rod on Press 77 with Oscar, and I go, where are we going to put this? He goes, well, everyone knows just to stick it right there. I didn't know it. If I was cleaning it up, I would have put it away somewhere else. So not everybody knows what we do, okay? So if somebody else is cleaning an area, if it's marked out, it's a lot easier, okay? One of the other improvements that we did, Bob's going to continue tomorrow. One of the other improvements, have you noticed Jason's videotaping it? Kind of is it easier doing the meetings with the videotape? Okay, well then obviously not her guy. So, all right, but all right, so one of the other improvements that we noticed Jason's videotaping it, kind of is it easier doing the meetings with the videotape? Okay, well then obviously not her guy. So, all right, but. better for you? Okay. So we're trying to make it easier for the afternoon meetings. Instead of writing down and repeat everything, we can just videotape it, so it'll make it easier. Okay? All right, Robert's got a couple videos.